This is a continuation of the very long chapter 5. Um, this is allegedly Cindy Watts' book and Kathleen Houston, and it's called All My Broken Pieces. Cindy continues, I always told myself he was like Ronnie because Ronnie had always been quiet, but he's nothing like Ronnie. I don't know. I spend all day and night a year later still trying to find something, anything that I missed, and I must have, but I don't have any answers. We have grief, it will always be with us. I know grief, it walks with me. I know confusion and despair, but I don't think I know my son. Everything seemed fine. Our daughter never spoke about anything bad. She did speak to us about bankruptcy a lot, of debt with all the medical bills. That was Sandra speaking. Now Cindy again. Sandy and Frank were way ahead of us then. Chris never told us about the bankruptcy at all. I found out later, after, and there wasn't much in the way of medical debt in 2015 when they declared. There was 70,000 in unsecured debt, however, stuff they had bought. Somewhere in there, Chris had sold his Mustang to get cash for the Lexus down payment lease. By then, he had his work truck. When I look at the bankruptcy file and so much money, and for what? Clothes, trips they couldn't afford. Sandy and Frank had to give the money for their passports for Punta Cana. If they couldn't pay for that, what in the world did they go on the trip for? Any of those trips that were really just parties where they bought more overpriced clothing, this time Thrive stuff. It was crazy spending. Chris claims now he didn't know how bad their money situation was. I say, really? 2 years later, they were right there again, and it's not too hard to figure, is it? He was making 60,000 a year. Their mortgage was 2,700, another 150 for the homeowners. 2,000 a month for daycare, 600 a month for car payments, not counting insurance. They were already in the negative before utilities and food, so why not go on to pricey trips and buy clothes and toys and get your nails done on Shenan's part? They treated money like monopoly cash, and 2 short years later they were underwater again, having learned nothing, and apparently neither had their banks, because how anyone was stupid enough to give those two credit is beyond me. Bella and Celeste were back and forth to doctors, misdiagnosed for 2 years. I told Shanann that they had asthma and she needed to fire that doctor. One day she went in and the PA was there and she diagnosed them with asthma. Finally, the girls were doing great. Other than earplugs put in and the girls being very allergic to tree nuts, which would have caused them death. Or, I'm sorry. Finally, the girls were doing great, other than earplugs put in, and the girls being very allergic to tree nuts, which would have caused them death. It's true that both the girls suffered from failure to diagnose or to get the right diagnosis that people in their lives seemed to need for them. Neither of the girls ever displayed any asthmatic symptoms when I was there, and Chris admits now that the most he saw was Cece coughing sometimes when she ate too fast. Bella did not suffer from any allergies at all. Despite this, she was told that whatever Cece was allergic to, and sometimes that was chocolate, sometimes peanuts, and later tree nuts, she was not allowed any of those things either. Four is young for this. I don't know which of them, Chris or Shanann, told her that if Cece ate coconut she wouldn't wake up. I wish no one had. She was a very quiet, gentle, frightened little girl, and after the age of 2 she never looked healthy, and her hair wouldn't grow, and she was self-conscious about it. Talking about Bella, of course. Now I know she had the added worry of her sister dying on her little shoulders. Mama Bear Shanann called her. She wasn't a mama bear, she was a baby. But she was right to worry, I guess, because the sister did die, didn't she? Chris killed her, killed them both. I don't think they had any allergies at all. I don't think they should have been dosed up with Tylenol every single night of their lives. And here's another thing that haunts me. The last day of their lives, they went to a birthday party and there was cake and ice cream, and those babies had to stand and look at it. None for them, not even on the last day of their lives. Celeste was born with her esophagus too small, and they went in 3 times to enlarge it. Steroids like crazy to help her breathe for 1.5 years or longer, all until they were diagnosed with asthma. Then Shanann with her neck surgery, which out of pocket was $25,000 they owed. So that's why there was so much debt. Sandy must be referring to the second go round of debt here because Shanann's neck surgery was after that bankruptcy. It was elective and so costly as there were most as were most of the tests on the girls. If Cece was born with anything wrong with her, it sure never showed. She was the healthiest, most active, and happiest little girl. I hate that she went through all of those procedures and all of those drugs. From birth, both girls were left to cry it out, quote unquote. Chris and Shanann said it was something called baby wise. I thought it was horrible. 2 hour naps unless they were at daycare. Drugs at 6 p.m. every single night, sick or not. Bed at 6:30 or 7 at the latest. Those loud rain machines. I was told to never go into them when they cried. No rocking ever. I'd watch Bella crawl out of bed in the dark and crawl to her bookshelf, then sit in a corner holding a book she couldn't see in the dark. If the children had really had asthma, wouldn't having let them cry like that have set off the asthma or Cece's choking? I noticed that when we would FaceTime every night for 4 years straight, looking back starting late May 2018, when we FaceTimed, Chris was putting the phone all over the ceiling, room, floor, etc. I said, Chris, are you all right? Then he would FaceTime normally. Before Shanann came to North Carolina, Celeste had a rash in her private area, and she went to get a face cloth and some cream. Chris had the phone. I said, Chris, let me see how bad it is, being that I am an aide. So I still couldn't see, so I said, wait, let me move my screen because I couldn't see. He put it right on her private parts. Oh, I was mad. All I can say to this is that they were very strange. They were. I'm sorry. All I can say to this is that they were a very strange family. My son, his wife, her parents, or maybe I should say strange to me. From the beginning, I had never seen anyone who never, and I do mean never, put their phone down like Shanann's I do mean never put their phone down like Shanann. Meals, conversations, you name it, the phone was out. The phone caused an unpleasant incident the weekend of the engagement, but we don't talk of that. The phone sent Ronnie and I pictures of our son's penis. The phone was on, and not just when she was making videos. Her parents did indeed FaceTime with them constantly, and though Chris did what Shanann said always, he didn't ever warm to the videos and constant FaceTiming and pictures of every single minute. We didn't FaceTime every night. It would have been painful for one thing, as neither Ronnie or Chris talked much, and dinner isn't seeing how the kids ate dinner isn't necessary. Oh, okay, I get it. Why did they take the phone into the bathroom? It seems odd, but then why did they take pictures of every time the girls were at the hospital? It was just all so weird. So this was an attractive story So this unattractive story neither surprises me or makes me wish we had FaceTimed more. Shanann wanted to come for 6 weeks this summer so she can introduce the girls to Chris's sister, who never met Celeste or Uncle Frankie, our son. Before the year started back to school, dance classes, etc., it was the best time was now. We were thrilled. Shanann stayed the week here, then the weekends with Chris's parents. So that apparent this is so confusing. I'm starting to not be able to tell which is Sandy and which is Cindy, so please bear with me. Okay, I'm going to break off for this for a while. The rest of Sandy's letter concerns the last weeks of their lives, and there is a lot to tell before I get to that. I don't know why Shanann came to North Carolina for so long. They were facing losing their house and basically homelessness unless they moved back to North Carolina and in with one set or the other of parents. Maybe it was to see how that would go. I'll give you a hint. Not well. Shanann looked at two very expensive houses for sale while she was here. Maybe she or they, though I don't think it was they because Chris was already in love with another woman, but possibly she thought they could start over again in North Carolina like they had in Colorado. If so, I don't think it would have been easy. They weren't just broke, they were drowning in debt with little chance of getting out. They couldn't declare bankruptcy again. They were only 2 years out of the first one. So it really would have meant living with one family or the other. And if those weeks were an indicator, God help Shanann. She must have been growing desperate. Meantime, I have to wonder what Chris's solution was. Thank you for staying with me so far, and I'll answer the rest of Sandy's letter later on. This is where the unfinished manuscript ends. I don't know that there's been any more posted. I'm going to look for it. If any of you find it, please let me know. Just message me in one of the comments. And thank you for listening.